This is Tracer Talks, conversations with top industry experts on trending topics for brands and digital risk protection, featuring your host, Tracer CEO, Rick Farnell.
Okay, so this next question, Jay, is probably geared a little bit towards brands, platforms, brand protection providers, the legal community, people who are in the industry. So in your opinion, think through this. What keeps you up at night?
I think the thing that there's a lot, but the thing that keeps me up at night is the concern that there's a nugget out there in terms of collaboration or working across this space that we are missing, right? So there's an opportunity to do something right now that would be effective in mitigating risk, stopping counterfeiters, protecting customers better, making sure that when I go online and I shop, that I'm not getting counterfeit products. That there's something out there that we're missing because we're not focused on the right way or thinking about how we can collaborate or share information or work together better. And related to that, my own behavior, quite honestly, keeps me up at night because I know what the cues are. I know what to do when I'm looking online and searching for a product and buying things, right? But there are plenty of times where I'm like, I don't feel like going through and reading the review. I never read the reviews, by the way. I shouldn't say that, but I never read the reviews. And, looking up, where's this thing shipping from and who's the seller? And I don't follow a lot of the best practices on my own. And there have been things I've got that I'm like, I probably shouldn't have bought that, but, I'm just going to not use it, right? If I am not doing that as an expert in this space, can I expect the consumers who are not experts, that don't understand the full weight and impact of this crime, right? Can I expect them to do the same thing?
Yeah, and kind of the next question, specifically to consumers who might be watching the show and listening, maybe some of what you just said in that last question, what can consumers do to better protect themselves in this age of counterfeiting that we're seeing moving forward?
So the first thing I would say is don't follow my lead and be lazy. Tongue in cheek. The first thing is realize that you are much more important than you think you are, right? You may think I'm just one of millions, hundreds of millions of people who buy products, right? I'm one of hundreds of millions of people who's a fan of this brand, and my one little sale is not making a difference to anything. And that's wrong. The reality is your little piece of the pie is incredibly important to the whole scale, the whole economy of legitimate as well as illegitimate goods. And counterfeiters are still targeting you because they know that if they can get one sale out of 10, it's still a profitable enterprise for them. And so I would first say that understand that your role is vitally important to the economy and to making sure that brands are protected. The second thing I would say is really take the time to understand what are the big red flags and the cues to notice when you're buying something of whether or not it's counterfeit, right? And understand where it's coming from, understand where it's being sold. If something is suspicious and just looks off, then it may be a sign that something is wrong. It's not always the case that because something's coming from, a nondescript warehouse shipped in a weird package or something that it's fake or counterfeit. That's not always the case. But it should bring a heightened sense of security or a heightened sense of awareness to want to protect yourself and be more secure in what you're doing and ask some questions, right? Make sure the information and data are there. The last thing that I would say is share information about the misses that you've had. If you've gotten a counterfeit product, make sure that brand, the place where you bought it from, and law enforcement, to the greatest extent possible, know about it. That information is incredibly valuable. You may not hear back from that brand or a marketplace or a store that they took action, but it is incredibly helpful to know when those things go on because if we don't hear about it, if law enforcement doesn't hear about it, if a brand doesn't hear about it, if the community at large doesn't hear about it, We don't know that it's going on. All those things apply to people who are not going in search of counterfeits. But the complicit consumer community is the difficult one to get to.
Yeah, and I think that local voice is a really important one. Kind of giving that feedback to the brand allows that to filter back into their brand protection provider and our partners and the platforms in which some of this is happening to take better steps to identify it ahead of time so that other consumers aren't impacted. I think that's really, really, really good advice. Okay, Jay. So the online world has changed dramatically just in the past couple of years, especially with what we're seeing with social media phenomenon and TikTok and Instagram and all of kind of what we talked about earlier in the show. Step into the future a little bit. As you yourself, you've been here for well over a decade, kind of what do you think's coming? What's your prediction as to how the industry is going to look in 5 years?
Yeah. And first, let me caveat and say that I am not the most tech savvy person in the world. Like, I'm not on TikTok. I've got Instagram, but I don't know what I'm doing on it. I'm not on Facebook. I do shop online. And I think the trend that's going to happen is we're going to see hyper-personalization. So the access to information, shopping history, browsing history, your social media streams, the free access to the following of brands, the liking of particular products, lifestyle choices, all that is going to feed algorithms that will select for you specific products and push to you specific items saying, hey, you might like this. And it's going to go beyond like the individual product level to, I think, like a curated list of things. Hey, you normally take a vacation in between May and August of every year, and you tend to go to warm, sunny places because you live in Michigan. And Michigan gets really cold in the winter, and so you want to escape that. Here's great wardrobe suggestion for that new sunny location with the accessories and shoes and blah, blah. All those things are going to come together. And, oh, by the way, if you haven't booked your flights, right, here's some information about that. It's going to be hyper-specific, and it's going to feel like you've got a personal assistant curating you through, the store to get the things that you want. And I think that the other attendant part to that is that it's not going to come from the brands, right? It's going to come from some startup, some kid right now who's like in his freshman year in college, if not high school, that's going to say, I got a great idea and I wish I had this. And he's got the knowledge, he or she has the knowledge and the ability to code that, create the software, and push that idea out there. And it's going to take people by storm. It's not going to come from the normal channels. And the credibility, or the thought of saying, let's verify that we're pulling in only legitimate items and that we're not, or that we're properly vetting the influencers who are pushing things to us, and that we've got a proper, guardrail around drop shipments. I'm not sure if that's going to come into play as I think about the usability and the use cases that say, this is a great technology. How much would you love that? Like, you just open up your computer and there's personalization for you.
I love the answer, Jay. I'm gonna build on that a little bit with some of my thoughts. I really like the hyper personalization, and I think if you think about advertising as we know it today, is going to dramatically change in a number of years. I think we've all seen the movies where lots and lots of human beings are walking around, a city and subway and billboards and TVs, and everything that they look at is hyper personalized to just them. There's a lot of technology that needs to be in play in order to have that happen. But if you think of at least the current world that we're in, where you're touching a mobile phone, or you're interacting with a laptop or a tablet, the strategy that advertisers are going to use on behalf of their brands, they're not going to be doing just stock filmed commercials with real human actors that's, in his 40s, sitting on a couch with a 9-year-old daughter in a mountain town, because that's going to appeal to a certain segment. Using generative AI that prompt will be said, and coded instantly so that you see it personalized to whoever you are. So it's going to be fascinating where this world goes with the advent of AI and machine learning. And yes, it's going to be used for good, but it's also going to be used by, those bad guys out there. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the balance, right? That's a difficult balance to strike, is as these things are developing, how do we make sure that the guardrails are in place to keep the good guys bringing society the things that will make society better, and keeping the bad guys away from that technology so they don't make society worse.
Yep, 100%. So we've reached the point in our segment. We do this with all of our folks. We have some fun questions for you. So I'm gonna kind of let them go. Whatever comes into your head, no wrong answers. So, what would you choose to eat for your last meal?
Prime rib and creme brulee.
Oh, I like the dessert ad. That's nice.
That was going to be my first choice all in of itself. I thought, I should probably set a base.
I like it. Okay, what superpower would you choose?
What superpower would I choose? The ability to read minds.
Oh, good one. Most productive time of your day
is between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs, but I own cats.
Drink of choice?
This is an interesting one. I love a really good peach lemonade.
Okay, peach lemonade. There you go. Straight up or anything in it?
Nothing in that one. If we had to go adult beverage of choice, it's going to be bourbon.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you on.
I'm going to say brand agnostic now, but yeah.
Yep. Favorite genre of music?
Easily rock and roll.
Android or Apple?
Android all the way. Yeah.
Favorite pizza?
Favorite pizza? I would say Hawaiian with chicken.
Oh. Most prized possession?
That's a really good question. Wow. I would have to say it's a copy of a book by a gentleman named Hans Massaquoi that's titled Destined to Witness, which is his story of growing up black in Nazi Germany.
Wow. Okay.
And I say that because it's just hugely instructive. It's a great read, both from I'm a history buff, so that perspective, but also from a social perspective and understanding history through a different lens. I'm a fan of books anyway, but it's an incredible. Yeah, I'm not a materialistic guy, so that knowledge piece is awesome. Yeah.
Okay, and best advice you've ever received?
Do I have to follow it?
No.
The best advice that I have ever received, and I've received it in a number of different ways, but I'll frame it as a colleague framed it, where she said it's PR, not ER. So understand the importance of what you're doing within the grand scheme of things. And basically give your time and attention to the things that really matter in life.
I love it. So Jay, really appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us for episode 2 of Tracer Talks, the future of counterfeiting with Jay Kennedy.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rick. I really appreciate the time. It's been a great conversation, and I look forward to another one.
Excellent. Thanks, Jay.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Tracer Talks. To see more content on brands and digital risk protection, visit our website, tracer.ai.